This is Things You Might Have Heard. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and I'm going to present for you in moments yesterday's latest in information, politics, current events, and pop culture. This should go to supplemental source of both mainstream and unconventional news stories that you may have missed throughout the day. A little bit of context thrown in there to get you through. In the queue, 8 news stories from the past day that you vetted as conversational, and then we put it together in this crafted newscast just for you. I'll explain the vetting process at the end of the headlines and also end up with some fun things as well at the end of the show. So make sure you stay tuned for the entire shebang, the whole shebang, if you will. Our website is thisisaconversationproject.com. Visit it for more details on how we do things every single day here for the Conversation Project. So make sure you are a part of what's happening and ready to go. So without further ado, let's get into the 8 stories for today. Tuesday, December the 12th, 2022 is today. And these are 8 news stories that we curated for you from the top 15 stories posted yesterday in our feeds on the Conversation Project. Starting off with story number 1 headline. I said if you made it into the feeds, you made it into the range, we would talk about it. Fort Campbell in mission essential report status after tornado rips through region. The region being Tennessee and Kentucky over the weekend. A total of 8 tornadoes, I believe, went through the area and lots of damage. Lots of, in the case of lives, about 6 lives total lost in Kentucky alone. And we are seeing the aftermath of this. Fort Campbell, and the story specifically coming from Task and Force, a website, a news agency that focuses on military type stuff. I'm not sure if it's actually in the military stuff, sort of like the Stars and Stripes was, or just something that focused on military stuff, dealing with this aftermath of many families on the base, many families in the area, military families losing everything as we are very, very close, coming up on 13 days till Christmas. This happening a few days ago over the weekend. I wanted to put this in line because yesterday we talked about the tornadoes and the devastation. Today, it's a bit of a reminder of just how real this thing is. I literally had a meeting last night with the groups that's going over our neighborhood. I'm in the neighborhood association, and we are dealing with 8 months past a tornado here in Little Rock. I still don't have a home. Many people that are on the board don't have homes yet. Many people have, given up. Some people built houses back and just are selling them, just, had to get them back, and they just got to get away. Some people just sold the scraps and land for what's going on. The military folks don't have that option because they're there because they're told to be there, and they'll have to just kind of live through what's going on. I know many people from our group are actually going up to Tennessee and Kentucky just next week to help and drop things off, do what they can, because we feel like we owe them that. It's something that's happening. Make sure you keep families of disasters in mind. Make sure you keep families of war and all those other things going on in mind, because there are families going on while the politics of taking care of things is being done. And, of course, the warring part in some cases as well. Let's go to the next headline for this morning. This one is much, much bigger, much, much happier, but maybe not as important as the other one. But to you guys, it was number 1 on the day. BTS members RM and V start compulsory military service in South Korea, but the band will reunite in 2025. Not too far away, basically a year and a bit from now. RM and V of K-pop band BTS began the mandatory military duties under South Korea law, and 2 other band members are expected to report for duty on Monday. They basically are in the army now. Jin, J-Hope, and Suga are already months into their compensation. How many members of this band are there? There's like 20 guys. It's like all the members of Menudo all together, like over the lifetime, coming together in the multiverse of a band doing this. I thought it was just like 7 guys. This is a lot of dudes. But they arrived at boot camp. They're doing their thing. They're not going to do very much. Much like Elvis back when he was in the army. He sat around, drove a tank, maybe a little bit, drove a Jeep, sat around the mess hall a bunch, and didn't do very much in the way of putting in the very forward force. I would say that Harry and William actually did a lot more for their mandatory service, even though they were royals and there were wars going on at the time. Of course, you're not sending out the possible kings of England out there to war, but we'll see how much actual military service that the guys from BTS actually get. And once they're all done in about a year or so, that means they're back together. They're much older, so the let's say the crowd will be a bit more mature and looking for more maturity, but still do the hip hop poppy stuff that K-pop people love. BTS still rules, apparently. No idea. Let's go to the next story, which was a big one on our TikTok video we put out, but not so much for the YouTube folks. Apparently, YouTube folks like working for the man. The headline read, Panera founder Workers not motivated by shareholders. And this is a story that got a lot of love in the feedback and your engagement. But like I said, we put a video out with a little short sort of teaser of it. The TikTok users gave me one of the largest videos I had all along. And probably because TikTok users are the ones out there kind of slamming these types of things and slamming this guy in general for what's going on. Essentially, the founder of Panera Bread, not the current CEO, not the current people in charge, because this guy sold it to private equity and then it went public essentially, is basically saying there's no motivation for workers to work for shareholders, no motivation for workers to work in the corporate chain anymore because they're not getting anything. They're doing what they can. They're making less money. They're working with worse materials, in this case, lesser food. And right now, Panera is being sued twice for killing people over lemonade. The conditions of working aren't great, and it's, for them it's a restaurant, so it's food service and already bad to begin with. This is a Panera thing, sort of specific, but not really, because essentially everybody jumped out in the comments and talked about how bad working on low wage jobs are, minimum wage jobs are, food service jobs are, and Panera Bread. A lot of people were really pissed off about the basically the service and the quality of the food at Panera specifically. This was one that got your attention. This is one I'm sure we'll see again this weekend. A lot of stories are big, so we'll see what's going to fight for the weekend ideas for the weekly wrap up. But this is one that really got a lot of people's dander up. But I must say, it was on TikTok. The YouTube folks apparently like working for corporate overlords and shareholders. It just is what it turned out to. Next story for the morning. Headline reads, Special Counsel Jack Smith asks Supreme Court to rule quickly on whether Trump can be prosecuted. Here's a big deal about this whole Trump having like 5 trials, if you count the civil suit right now for his company, and 91 indictments to rule through. There's an election coming up in, like 10 months. And with that happening, Donald Trump could be our next president, or our president again, how we wouldn't say that. With that happening, he's essentially immune from anything. So any of these trials that go before the election can basically bound him out of the election from there. Anything that goes on after election, we're stuck until 4 years are passed and he's basically free again. At that time, he'll be 80 something years old. And will he care? Will he be around? Who knows? We may care, we may not, based on how people vote him into the presidency, if that happens. Jack Smith is asking for the Supreme Court to rule quickly because this is the precedent, because he's the president, whether he's being prosecuted fairly and quickly to get the whole damn thing done. We're going to see how this thing plays out, literally in court, literally within days, because we can't wait for an action to delay on this one. Let's give some love to the ladies. First, going to LSU. Kateri Poole is no longer with LSU women's basketball team. That's a quick note we got from ESPN. There are details to go in the story, but she, as her coach has said, is no longer on the team. Locker room issues essentially being listed. With that, we go to the nemesis of Angel Reese, who's back on the court for LSU, and that being Caitlin Clark of Iowa. She reached 3,000 career points. Congratulations to her hitting that one for the Cyclones. So it's more than hitting that against the Cyclones, I should say. That happened. She plays for Iowa State. Yeah, I totally butchered that one, but we're kind of rolling through this thing. So Caitlin Clark, Caitlin Clark beat Iowa State last night and got 3,000 points for this one. I'm gonna blame this on the robot editor and a little bit of tiredness. We did deal with some tornado stuff last night, so a little tired, a little ragged. We're gonna blame it on that one and move on to this story, which is much more serious. So I'm gonna really get kind of deep in this one. Texas woman who sought court order to get an abortion says she will leave the state for procedure. This story is actually getting larger, getting bigger, going deeper into detail, as a Texas woman who was told her baby will not live more than days, maybe hours after being born, sought to get an abortion in Texas. She was denied. Then she was granted, and now again she's denied. She is saying she's going to leave the state and do the procedure. We'll see what happens in this case going forward, because essentially she's very much pregnant but has to carry a birth to term for a baby that is still alive, but literally will not survive actual childbirth, not survive life once it comes to fair. And so the issue that is at stake for abortion is, the life of the child. The child's life is very much not very much of any sort of quality. So now it's the life of the mother carrying the child to term. We'll see how this one plays out. Literally, as the court's telling us one thing, but we'll see what she'll do going forward. And finally, the story you've all been waiting for, the meal you've been waiting for. The double-decker taco returns to Taco Bell locations nationwide. This is not a sort of a sneaking in of McRib across places that went away forever, then sort of snuck in different places. Oh yeah, Little Rock got some McRib. This is big. The double-decker taco. The taco that's also smothered in refried beans and covered with another taco, because you can do that. Taco Bell made this thing, is back. And it's back for probably a limited time. So see if you can get it, but it's all over the place. Get yourself a double-decker taco. Like I said, we were kind of tired. It was a little late last night. Had some flubs getting in, but we're on the air. We're doing it. We're here. Kind of deal with it. In our errors, apologies, and omissions section, we just want to talk about the Taylor Swift story that was number 2 today. So let's just be clear. BTS was number 1. LSU losing a member, number 3. Number 2 today for yesterday. So this story will come back to haunt us for the weekend, I'm pretty sure. Tony Romo accidentally calls Taylor Swift Travis Kelce's wife. This happened on CBS over the weekend during the game, where there's a whole lot of stuff going on. You saw Taylor Swift in the stands, or in the box, I should say, celebrating her man, Travis, out there playing the footballs. Tony Romo, who gets caught very much on his flubs, because when he does one, it's hilarious and it's momentous, called Taylor Swift, Taylor Swift, too many T's, Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce's wife, in the commentary. People went nutballs over it. Not the wife. She's not married to anybody. Not that other guy. Not this guy. They're just dating right now. They're not there yet. She hasn't got to the point where she can screw it up yet. Oh, yes. I'm saying it. I'm calling it right now. She's going to screw it up. There'll be lots of songs about it. You Swifties will love it. Meantime, our teaser story for this morning. This is a story we could talk about tomorrow if you deem it worthy of the chit chat. And how do you do that? You go to our feeds on Facebook and Twitter, or call it X if you want to, call it X if you must, to get the story in line for our feeds. We take the top 15 stories of a day's story from Tuesday through Friday. For yesterday, for Monday, we gave you 10 stories from top 30 of the weekend. We give 15 top stories. This is one that goes in line with what we had today, talking about the founder of Panera Bread saying that workers don't want to work for shareholders because it's Christmas season and this is when these things happen. Headline for this story is Hasbro laying off 1,100 workers as weak toy sales persist into holiday season. If you want to chat this one up, go to the feeds and find this one, or just wait for it to come to you. Our feeds on Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/this is a conversation project, twitter.com/th_conversation. What you'll see there is every 50 minutes we post news stories from various news sources. Some you may love, some you may not love so much, but they give us a solid story. Some we're a little worried about ourselves, but sometimes they're just there and you guys love them. And you engage in the story. Like it, love it, hate it, share it. The more engagement the story gets, the higher chance we have of talking about it in the next iteration. Next iteration for this one will be the Wednesday edition of Things You Might Not Have Heard. If this is top 15, more than likely we will get it into the actual rundown, just like that. Right now, we're going to take a moment to spotlight one of our sponsors. Go to our sponsors page at our website and visit many of our sponsors. They're all affiliate links, so if you click on a link and buy from them, or some just visit them and move around the website, we get some credit for you doing that. This is one that we're getting taking a lot of credit for, because Blinkist is an app I've been using for over a decade, and Blinkist is an app that will get you caught up on all the great books that you're missing out. This is theconversationproject.com/Blinkist. This is theconversationproject.com/Blinkist is the home for the Blinkist app. And so you go there, you download the Blinkist app, you sign up for a subscription, and you can get great books in little time. Lots of great books, a whole lot of little time. Go to the website, or go to the app, if you will, and you can get a chance to read or listen to audio versions of what they call blinks. They take full versions of books and they break them down into condensed versions that give you the meat and potatoes, the real kind of the pureness of the points of what's going on. I use this app every morning on the way to work. I use this app every night before I go to bed. Sometimes in between days, as I find myself with 15, 20 minutes of time where I can sit and kind of not be bothered, because you can read books that normally take you 4 or 5 hours to read or listen in audio form, even if you speed it up, in 15 minutes or so. Most of those like that. It's great. Check it out, and you will be amazed at how quickly you can catch up on books as well. You can also share the love of Blinkist with Blinkist Spaces. But go check it out and find out on your own. Go to this. It's a conversationproject.com/Blinkist, Blinkist. This is an affiliate link, so if you choose to download the app and subscribe to the service, we get a bit back, and we thank you for that one. We also thank you for stopping by our website, which is The Conversation Project, at thisistheconversationproject.com, where you can find all the love and all the great stuff that we do at the website, or for the Conversation Project at the website. You can also find links to our feeds, which we talked about before, links to where we are, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, those things as well, links to our newsletter, so you can just get the news without having to hear me or see me, links to our podcast, so you can just not see me, just hear me, and how you can find us in various places. You can always email us at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. That way, you can talk with us on what we can do to do things better or not as worse. You can go to the feeds. I said that 3 times just in this promo because it's very important. I don't have the words to say in these shows unless you give me the words from the feeds and give us engagement scores. That's how that works out. And stop by our partnerships page and see if there's a way you want to connect with us directly to get some stuff done. That is all. That is all. That is all. So let's get to the fun stuff and get on with our day, shall we? The fun stuff always begins with birthdays every single weekday morning, and today, no exception. On December the 12th, we celebrate Mayim Bialik, who is 48 years old today. Of course, coming to fair for all of us to understand and love as Blossom, the girl with the big hats, that turned into from a kind of a lovey Carrie show to a really dark, depressing, when she did her deep moving into adulthood turn. It was a different show, but still got a love for Six, because that's me, and love Mayim Bialik, who went on to become a actual professor. I think she's actually a doctor of such. Then played a doctor on Big Bang Theory, coming back to fair, and now is one of the hosts on Jeopardy, maybe a permanent host. I think they're still fighting on whether her and Ken Jennings have to like do a fight like at the end of Squid Game to sort of see who actually wins the game. We'll see what happens on that one. Not trivia, folks. You know, this is blades and knives and all sorts of things that go on that end. Mayim Bialik, all kidding aside, happy birthday, 48 years old on the day. 2000, the year. December 12th, the day. A divided U.S. Supreme Court halted the presidential recount in Florida, and me saying it so poorly is probably part of the issue, effectively making Republican George W. Bush the winner. Remember hanging chads? Of course you don't, because you're too young to remember hanging chads. But in 2000, we had a crisis of similar concern that we had in lately years in our election process for president, where back in the day, you went in Florida, you went to a booth, they didn't have electronic stuff, you took a little pencil and you punched in a hole in the card, and they looked at it and saw the holes, went through and went there, and the scanner read it. But if you didn't punch the hole completely, you had a chad, which is what you call little holes, and a hanging chad, which was kind of there. You couldn't tell if it was punched, not punched. Maybe you punched 2 at the wrong time. There was a ballot someplace where it was mislabeled, so Pat Buchanan got a bunch of votes instead of some Gore or Bush. Can't remember whose votes he stole. It was all sort of insanity. And Florida basically for days was holding up the election. And guess what? On this day, December 12th, George W. Bush was officially named the winner of the election after a November election. See, these things actually kind of go around in circles and they get screwed up every single time. Today, on December the 12th, we're going to celebrate Sound Check Day, and we want to put the song by Sneaker Pimps, 6 Underground in your head, because 1 2 1 2 sound check 1 2 1 2. You're welcome, America. With that, we're wrapping up for the day. This has been Things You Might Not Have Heard for this day. But before we step out, one more thing. We are rolling into the season for should be love and giving, but some folks, it's not so loving and giving. So all the way up until we get there, we're going to remind you, if you're in need, call or text the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 988 on your cell phone. Or you can go to 988lifeline.org online, 24/7. Someone's there to speak to you in English and Spanish. Just a quick reminder, literally every single day up through the holidays, because it's that important. And now it's important that we get to work. We got things to do. We got a whole life to live on Tuesday. You got to go vote some stories up. You got to go engage in the news. I've got to put the news out to engage in. And we got to come back tomorrow on Wednesday for a hopefully much more well rested edition of Things You Might Have Heard. Tell us how we did. If we did not so great, email us, let us know. If we did better than I'm thinking we're doing, email us and let us know. And make sure you're staying limber, staying hydrated, staying on task for all the grand things you're here to do through the holiday season, through 2023, 24, 25. 2087, if you have that juice, you go do it, do great things, have a great day. We're wrapping this up for the day. Love you, mean it. We'll see you tomorrow on Wednesday.